From wounds to wisdom, the revolutionary power of transforming pain into purpose. When we talk about resilience, we often think about bouncing back, returning to our original shape after being bent or compressed. But what if resilience isn't just about returning to who we were? What if it's about becoming something entirely new, something stronger, more purposeful, more powerful? I recently had the profound privilege of interviewing Kembela McCrary, a visionary leader who has fundamentally reshaped how we understand the relationship between adversity and achievement. Kembela's insights aren't just thought provoking, they're revolutionary. Her work has transformed countless lives by helping people recognize that their deepest wounds aren't just scars to hide, but potential sources of their greatest power. The conventional wisdom tells us that hardship is something to endure, to get through, to survive. We celebrate those who weather storms, who persevere despite difficulties. But Kembela McCrary offers us a more revolutionary perspective that our deepest wounds can become our most distinctive strengths, that our greatest challenges can become catalysts for our most meaningful contributions. This is especially true for Black professionals and entrepreneurs whose lived experiences, marked by systemic barriers, discrimination, and often personal trauma, contain within them seeds of extraordinary innovation, empathy, and leadership. Think about this for a moment. We live in a society that tells us to hide our scars, to minimize our struggles, to present polished, perfect versions of ourselves. We're encouraged to compartmentalize, to leave our personal challenges at home when we enter professional spaces. But what if this conventional approach is robbing us and the world of our greatest gifts? What if the very experiences that have caused us pain are also the experiences that have given us unique insight, uncommon wisdom, and unparalleled capacity for connection? This is the alchemy of adversity, the mysterious process by which suffering can be transformed into strength, trauma into triumph, pain into purpose. Let me share with you the story of Arlen Hamilton. In 2015, Arlen was homeless, sleeping on the floor of the San Francisco airport, determined to break into the overwhelmingly white male world of venture capital. She had no college degree, no financial background, no connections in Silicon Valley. What she did have was a lived experience that allowed her to see what others couldn't: the vast untapped potential of founders from underrepresented backgrounds. Imagine that for a moment: homeless, sleeping on airport floors, and yet within her burned a vision so clear, so powerful that it couldn't be extinguished by circumstance. Arlen understood something fundamental that others missed. She recognized that entrepreneurs who had faced systemic barriers often developed extraordinary resilience, creativity, and efficiency, qualities that made them not riskier investments, but potentially more valuable ones. From this insight, born directly from her own experience of marginalization, Arlen built Backstage Capital, a venture firm that is now invested in over 200 companies led by women, people of color, and LGBTQ plus founders. She didn't succeed despite her challenging background. She succeeded because of the unique perspective it gave her. When most people faced homelessness, they would focus solely on survival. Arlen transformed that pain into a mission that has now opened doors for hundreds of founders who might never have received funding otherwise. She didn't just change her own life, she's changing entire industries by recognizing value where others saw only risk. This is not an isolated example. Consider Tristan Walker, founder of Walker and Company Brands. Early in his career, Walker found himself in elite spaces: Stanford Business School, Twitter, Foursquare, where he was often the only Black executive in the room. He experienced firsthand the frustration of health and beauty products that weren't designed with people of color in mind. The constant microaggressions, the subtle exclusions, the products that ignored his needs. These daily indignities could have simply remained sources of personal frustration. But Walker refused to accept that narrative. Instead of simply enduring this frustration, Walker transformed it into innovation. He created Bevel, a shaving system specifically designed for Black men who experience razor bumps and skin irritation with traditional products. His company eventually sold to Procter and Gamble, demonstrating that authentic solutions born from lived experience could create tremendous value. Walker didn't succeed by downplaying his identity or ignoring his challenges. He succeeded by leaning into them, by recognizing that his personal experience revealed a market gap that others couldn't see. Or consider Kimberly Bryant, an electrical engineer who founded Black Girls Code after watching her daughter struggle with isolation in computer science classes. Bryant transformed her concern and frustration into a movement that has introduced tens of thousands of girls to coding, potentially changing the future composition of the tech industry. Bryant could have simply focused on helping her own daughter navigate a challenging environment. Instead, she built an organization that has reached tens of thousands of young Black girls, potentially transforming the future of the tech industry. Her pain, watching her daughter's isolation, became a catalyst for systemic change that will echo for generations. These stories illuminate a powerful truth that Kembela McCrary emphasizes: your pain can be your power. The challenges you face, whether personal, professional, or societal, can be transformed into unique strengths that fuel your growth and leadership. But how does this transformation happen? How do we turn lead into gold? First, we must recognize that authenticity is our greatest asset. In a world of carefully curated social media profiles and polished professional personas, there is revolutionary power in embracing our full stories, even the difficult parts. When we acknowledge our wounds, we discover that they connect us more deeply to others and allow us to lead with integrity. The Soft Girl Era podcast, hosted by Leanne Dolce, pronounced Dolce, like sweet softness whispered in French, explores this very journey. It creates a sacred space where high achieving Black women can unlearn survival mode, rediscover softness, and reclaim joy without guilt or apology. This platform recognizes that dropping the superwoman cape isn't weakness, it's a radical act of self love. Second, we must understand that community matters. None of the transformations I've described happened in isolation. Arlen Hamilton built a network of supporters before she built her fund. Tristan Walker surrounded himself with mentors and team members who believed in his vision. Kimberly Bryant created an entire community dedicated to empowering the next generation. Healing, innovation, and long term success require connection. We need spaces where we can be vulnerable, where we can share our struggles without judgment, where we can receive support and offer it to others. This is particularly crucial for Black professionals and entrepreneurs who often navigate spaces where they are underrepresented and misunderstood. Building communities of support isn't just nice, it's necessary for transformation. But there's a third element that's essential for turning pain into power, and is perhaps the most challenging. We must be willing to reframe our relationship with adversity itself. Most of us instinctively avoid pain. We see hardship as something to escape, something that takes us off our path. But what if we could see our difficulties not as detours, but as the path itself? What if we could recognize that our wounds aren't just obstacles to overcome, but portals to new possibilities? This doesn't mean glorifying suffering or suggesting that trauma is somehow good. It means acknowledging that our responses to difficulty can generate extraordinary growth, insight, and contribution. When we shift our perspective in this way, we begin to approach our challenges differently. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? We might ask, what is this teaching me? How might this experience equip me to serve? What unique insight does this give me that others might not have? This reframing is at the heart of what Kembela McCrary calls transforming adversity into a source of power and purpose. It's about recognizing that the very experiences that have caused us pain may also be the experience that allow us to make our most meaningful contributions. I want to be clear, this transformation isn't easy or automatic. It requires intentionality, support, and often professional help, especially when dealing with significant trauma. It requires time and patience and self compassion. But the potential reward is immense, not just for individuals, but for our collective future. Because when people transform their pain into purpose, they often create solutions that address deep systemic problems. They innovate in ways that expand opportunity for others. They lead with empathy and insight that can transform organizations and communities. So I challenge you today, look at your wounds not as weaknesses to hide, but as potential sources of your greatest strength. Consider how your most painful experiences might have given you insights, empathy, or perspective that others don't have. Ask yourself what unique contribution your journey has prepared you to make. This isn't about toxic positivity or pretending that trauma is a gift. It's about refusing to let your pain have the final word. It's about recognizing that transformation is possible, that your wounds can become wisdom, your struggles can become strength, your pain can become purpose. The world doesn't need more people who have never suffered. It needs people who have suffered and found a way to transform that suffering into something meaningful, into art, into innovation, into leadership, into service. Your scars are not just marks of what you've endured, they are maps to what you might create. They are not the end of your story, they are the beginning of a new chapter, one in which your pain becomes a source of power, not just for yourself, but for others. This is the revolutionary alchemy that Kembela McCrary teaches, that in the crucible of our most difficult experiences, something precious can be forged, something that the world desperately needs. The question is not whether you will face adversity, you will. The question is what you will do with it. Will you merely survive it? Or will you transform it into something powerful, something purposeful, something that changes not just your life, but the lives of others? The choice is yours. And in that choice lies not just your healing, but perhaps the healing of our world.